Good morning. Welcome. How's everyone this morning? Are you? Wait, hold on. There's like 400 people here, and I heard like maybe 3 of you. So let's try that again. All right, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, all right, welcome. Great, so thank you so much for joining us for this opening of the Open edX 2017 conference. It's amazing to see so many of you here. We are going to get started with our CEO and founder of edX, Anant Agarwal. He's a former director of CSAIL and a professor of MIT, and he is going to talk to you about the digital education disruption. So without further ado, please welcome Anant Agarwal.
Good morning. What fantastic, fantastic energy. I'm just so delighted to welcome our whole Open edX community and the learning community to this opening of Open edX. We're just so absolutely proud of our Open edX community. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Together we are reimagining education. And as we think of reimagining education, it's always useful to think of what is the world going to look like? What's the kind of world that we're going to see in this 21st century of ours? And as we understand that, maybe that's what we need to think about reimagining in terms of education. So without further ado, let's jump ahead. Okay, so 2030. So I would like you to all fast forward yourselves to 2030. Now, 2030 is not that far ahead. Okay, it's only about 13 years ahead. And for those of you who think that's a long time, remember, Y2K happened 17 years ago, and most of us still remember what that looked like. So think about 2030, and I want you to answer this question for me. What fraction of today's jobs will be around in 2030? Yell out the answer. What percentage of jobs of today will be around in 2030? 70%. 40%. Yeah, yell out the answer. Where are all the 400 people? 37%. So 50%. 50% of today's jobs will be gone by 2030. 50%. This means, just to put 50% in perspective, it's a big number. To put that in perspective, just imagine, next time you talk to somebody else and look them in the eye, by 2030, 1 out of every 2 people will not have a job. So by 2030, we have a massive planet-scale upskilling problem at our hand. Half of today's jobs will be gone because of automation, AI, technology, and so on. Planet-scale reskilling effort. If you look at whole new fields have been created. So for example, data science. This phrase did not exist in 2008. In 2008, people were still debating, should we call this new field that's coming up data science or big data? At the Computer Science and AI Lab, where I was before edX, we were debating the same thing, and I hated the word data science. I much preferred big data, because data science has science at the end of it, and anything which has science in it is not a science. Like computer science. But physics doesn't have science in it. Chemistry doesn't have science in it. Biology doesn't have science in it. So anyway, that's go figure. So the entire world is changing in front of us. Jobs are being created in new fields like data science or cybersecurity or robotics. All new fields popping up every 5 to 10 years. And so the whole model, the whole way we think about education will need to continue to change from today's model where people come in and learn at the age of 18 for 4 years and go away and work for the rest of their lives. We need to really think about a new world where things are changing all the time. Not surprisingly, if you look out there, Airbnb, for example, has completely changed the whole hotel business. Entire industries are changing in front of us. Netflix has completely changed the entertainment industry. And then you think of telecommunications and hospitality management, transportation. Everything is changing before our eyes. But education hasn't changed a whole lot. So why not? We know there's a problem. Universities are set up, many of us are part of universities. We are set up to educate people at the age of 17 or 18 for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, and thereabouts. But what about this massive planet-scale reskilling? So we can say, all right, maybe leave that to corporations. Maybe corporates will train all of the people continuously throughout life. But then you talk to corporates, what the corporates are saying is that their education is too costly. Technology is moving way too fast. They just cannot keep pace with technology. Too much turnover. People are staying much shorter in jobs than they used to in my father's generation. And there's no scalability. They have massive workforces all over the world, and education just doesn't scale. So the question is, how do you look for a solution to what the future of education should look like in this context? Well, just as corporations, when they want to create a new product, look to their customers. So who are the customers of education here? Well, these are some examples of people that need to be upskilled. So these are our customers. So let's look at the customers. What do they want? What do they look like? So let me ask you my second pop quiz. So what percentage? So by 2025, okay, that's 8 years. By 2025, what percentage of workers in the workforce, in corporates, will be millennials? So what percentage of workers in the corporate workforce be millennials by 2025? What percentage? 30%, 75%, 80%, 60%. Well, 75% is right. 3 out of 4 will be millennials. So that's the class of people that we have to worry about in this whole upskilling challenge. What do they want? Who are they? What do they want? What do they look like? Well, if you talk to millennials, they are connected. They are constantly connected with each other. My daughter, if she doesn't have her cell phone in front of her, she's talking to me, and mid-sentence she pulls out and does something and puts it back. And have you seen kids today? They can't talk in straight sentences without pulling out a phone and doing something and then putting it back and looking at you again. They are connected, constantly connected, and texting and tweeting and Snapchatting and WhatsApping to each other every few seconds. They want things to be fun and experiential. They want learning that is personalized. They want it flexible. They want to be able to learn on the go, learn wherever they are. Mobile is going to play a bigger and bigger part in education, and it needs to be on demand. They want it when they want to fit it within busy lifestyles. Remember, at the back of your mind, I want you to keep track of the world of the future that we are designing for, where 50% of today's jobs will be gone by 2030. And so people have to be learning all the time. And clearly, if we are targeting people that need to learn throughout life, they're going to be working, they're going to be having families. So how is it that we're going to bring them and drag them onto a campus for 2 years, for example? It ain't going to happen. So really think about the world, think about the customer in some sense. There are going to be people looking to be upskilled at massive planet scale. And as universities or corporates, no one's really set up for that kind of education of the future. So that was a pretty dark picture. The good news here is that you all are helping create a solution for the class of people. So these are some examples of edX learners who are already learning on edX. The whole platform that all of you help to create. And thousands of them from each of the corporations that, well-known corporations, are already coming to the platform and learning. And so we have some pretty amazing numbers. So our team did a survey of learners who earned a certificate in career-focused courses on edX. And 43% of them are telling us that they had a career advancement because of their certificate. Where a career advancement could look like a promotion, a raise, a new job. So 43% of learners are already telling us that the certificate has achieved a career advancement for them. 47% of them are posting their certificates on LinkedIn, and 45% of them are posting the certificates on their resumes. So we have something good here. We have amazing potential in terms of the offer that we have. The numbers look really good. So edX has grown to about 11.6 million learners from every single country in the world. More than 1,500 courses, about 130 global partners. A large number of you are here. And also, as we moved into credit to create this pathway from universities to continuous education, over 8,000 learners have taken courses on edX and are now eligible to obtain credit for their courses. What is even more exciting for me is what we've been able to accomplish together with the Open edX community. So we have 11 million learners on edX. And this year, we've had this amazing crossover. The Open edX community, your platform's Open edX community, has another 11 million learners. So together, it's 22 million learners. And if you think of edX growing exponentially, we started about 5 odd years ago. Open edX started just 3.5 years ago. And so the exponential behind Open edX is even faster. So it's really exciting that together we've hit 22 million and just growing extremely strongly. The platform and learning is also based on technology, and we're using big data and neuroscience in creating pedagogies for learning on the platform. So let me share one study that I found particularly interesting in recent days. So people keep asking me, does the pedagogy of the edX platform, the way learning is done, with interleaved videos and exercises that we call active learning, is that any good? Is there any data? What proof do you have that this works well, particularly for continuous learners? So here's one example of a study. This study was done by a group at MIT and working with a corporation, with corporate learners. And what they did was they showed them videos, give them a pre-test and a post-test. And one group was shown just videos. A second group was shown videos interleaved with discussions. And the third group was shown videos interleaved with mini quizzes, little exercises, questions. And that method is called active learning, or in the paper that they wrote, they called it interpolated testing. So where you interleave short videos with interactive exercises. And they looked at these 3 groups and gave them a post-test and a pre-test and looked at who learned the best. And so, as you can see here, the improvements from just video alone to videos interleaved with exercises is quite substantial. And there was about a 30% or increase in learning outcome as learners went from the leftmost to the approach on the right. Now, this turned out that this was a study by John Gabrielli and his team at MIT, and he's a neuroscientist. And so being a neuroscientist, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So they went one step further. So they said, okay, why is it? Why is it that interpolated testing or active learning, why is it that this pedagogy is a good thing? And the good news, by the way, is that that's the pedagogy behind the edX platform. So they did EEG scans of the brain, and they looked at the 3 groups of learners and did EEGs on them. And so the leftmost EEG, anybody here know how to read EEGs? The different audience, I guess. So I actually gave a talk about a month ago at the University of Alabama in Birmingham, and I spoke at the medical center. And I actually asked the same question, and half the hands went up. And it was pretty cool. I asked them to help me debug or understand these EEG charts, and it actually worked out. So on the left-hand side, you see the EEG scan for video alone, and the right side is the EEG scan for interpolated testing. And if warm colors on the EEG pattern, warm colors, yellows and reds, are like sort of sleep pattern, like when you watch TV and so on. And blues, sharp blues, icy colors, the cool colors, are when the brain is very active. And you can see that the EEG patterns for interpolated testing just shows a much more active and engaged brain. And so what is interesting was that their theory is showing that our brains are wired in a way that we learn better with the approach with interpolated testing. So that's how neuroscience is being applied. And then big data is being applied as well. So this is a study that was done by Philip Guo. He's now a professor at UCSD. He was a postdoc in those days, and he worked at edX briefly in 2012. So he did a study with large amounts of data. So we are using big data to learn how to learn better. And what he did was he looked at about 5 million video watching sessions. Not 1, not 10, not 100, not 1,000, but 5 million video watching sessions. And on the x-axis is plotted video length. 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 9 minutes, 12, 15, all the way up to 40-minute videos. And on the y-axis is plotted engagement. And the way he measured engagement was, what is the mean time? How much time did somebody watch the video? So what this chart is showing you is, for a video of length, let's say a video of length 12 to 15 minutes, the blue curve shows that a user watched it for 5 minutes. What is amazing is that the peak engagement, the peak watching, was for videos that were roughly 6 minutes long. So for videos that were 6 minutes long, people watched it for 6 minutes. But when videos got longer than 6 minutes, you notice that they actually watched it less. So shockingly, for a 40-minute video, the mean watching time was about 4 minutes. So if you have a 6-minute video, millennials like my daughter will watch it for 6 minutes. You have a 40-minute video, they'll be pissed off at you and watch it for 3 to 4 minutes. And then you wonder, why do we still drag our students to our classrooms and make them sit there for 60 minutes, and sometimes for 90 minutes? And what is interesting is that, so then we said, okay, maybe, I remember he showed me this result, and we said, aha, you are measuring people who did not earn certificates, they don't care about studies. So what about people who earned certificates? So what is interesting is that the red curve is for video watching times for people who did not earn a certificate. And the blue curve is for people that earned a certificate. And what is interesting is that it did not make any difference. So this is just one example of the kinds of things we can learn from the big data that we are able to gather from learning. So what should learning look like in the 21st century? Okay, so we talked about millennials, continuous education, where people are learning throughout life as fields keep changing, as jobs keep changing, and where they need to be engaged on the go, and they need to be using techniques like pedagogies of active learning to get really engaged. What about things like credentials? What should learning products look like for the 21st century? And again, I want you to think about the learner that may have graduated from college, or maybe has never gone to college. And for people like that, it's going to be very hard for them to come back to college and spend 2 years in college. So remember the 50% of learners that need to be upskilled, for instance. How do you come back and spend 2 years in college? Some might, but many won't. So in order to do that, working with our university partners, we've launched some new credentials. So one example is the MicroMasters. So contrast that with a master's degree. A master's degree is you go to college for 1 year or 2 years, get a master's. A bachelor's degree, go to college for 4 years, get a bachelor's at the age of 18 or 22 and thereabouts. But in this new world of ours, where you need continuous upskilling, continuous learning, the MicroMasters is a credential much better suited to that. So MicroMasters is a modular credential. It's about 25% to 50% of a master's degree in terms of content. So it's modular. So you can earn it with the effort, which is about 25 to 50% of the effort for a master's degree. It's career-focused. Each MicroMasters has a clearly set of spelled-out career outcomes. It's flexible. It's completely online. And it has open admissions. Now you wonder, why do universities have admissions? Why do we go through admissions? So I see IIM Bangalore here. places like the Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore, they must admit 1 out of 100 or maybe 1 out of 200 people that apply. And, IIM Bangalore are good people. So why are they excluding 99% of the people that apply? And the reason is that the campus simply cannot hold many more than the number of people they admit. And there's just much higher demand than the number of people that can come to campus. Many more than 1% can cut it. Many more than 1% can learn and master the material, but they simply cannot admit any more. And the sad part in our culture is that the more we exclude as universities, the higher ranking, the better the university is considered. I mean, isn't it surprising that our whole system is based on what percentage of people we do not admit? And if the number of people that come to campus and the campus capacity is a limit here, then with online learning and digital learning, maybe we can change that. When there's no constraints, maybe everybody can learn. No admissions. So MicroMasters, no admissions. Everybody can come and learn. And online learning and digital learning can be a real answer to creating new credentials and new models of learning like this. They can also reach millennials that are much more comfortable learning online, that want experiential and fun approaches. It's also affordable, so you can learn for free. So on edX, our MicroMasters or valuable credentials are available, but you pay a small fee. You can learn for free, open admissions, everybody's welcome, but you pay about $1,000 or $1,200 for a MicroMasters credential. So we are a nonprofit, but we want to be sustainable as well, and so one reason why we have a fee for a credential is to achieve sustainability, both for our partners and for edX. And the other exciting thing about a master's is that it gives you an option on credit. So let's say, for example, you do a MicroMasters in artificial intelligence. So Columbia has a MicroMasters in AI on edX, and you earn the MicroMasters, and then you apply to Columbia and get admitted into campus. The MicroMasters will convert to 25% of credit into their Masters in computer science. So it's an exciting new approach. So it's like you're getting an option on credit. And the Masters may cost, in the US in particular, Masters could range anywhere from $30,000, $40,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you want to go and get a full Masters, this will give you a pretty hefty discount on your Masters program. So the MicroMasters is this new credential and this new educational product, so to speak, that is modular, it's online, open admissions, it's free to learn, and gives you a pathway to credit. And it's one example of the kind of credential that might apply and address some of the challenges of 21st century education, particularly in a world where we need rapid upskilling. Now, many learners may not want the credit, and they may want even smaller programs. So the MicroMasters are focused on careers. So we have MicroMasters in fields like AI or data science from UCSD. We have a MicroMasters in business management from IIM Bangalore. So we have about close to 40 MicroMasters on our platform today and a number of cutting-edge topics. But for many learners that want skill-based programs, smaller skills, we've launched another program called the Professional Certificate Program. These are smaller. You can do them in significantly less time than a MicroMasters and are more skills-focused as opposed to career-focused. And so here, there's no pathway to credit. So for example, we launched about 15 professional certificate programs, and we had this launch about a couple of months ago. And we have similar professional certificate programs in things like software engineering, for instance. You could have one in learning various programming languages. You could have one in statistics and a variety of other topics. Now, again, on edX, we have a range of sizes of offerings, and we don't really prescribe exactly how it should look like. So, for example, we have a professional certificate from Microsoft in data science, which is 9 courses, and it's more comprehensive than our typical professional certificate. So again, learners are given the flexibility to kind of pick and choose the size of program that works for them. And again, a large part of these programs are really focused on important careers that are the burgeoning in the industry. So I mentioned things like data science and computer science, but topics like marketing. There's a MicroMasters in marketing, for instance, in communications, cybersecurity, sustainable energy, a large number of topics that can result to careers in a number of fields. And what is exciting is that this kind of a credential is interesting both to employers and to universities. So we've had a huge amount of demand and uptake from universities that are creating these programs. So the MicroMasters are created by universities because they need to have a pathway to credit. And corporations are loving it because they need to upskill their employees. It's much harder for them to send their team members to a university for a year or 2 years, but it's much easier for them to think about having them upskill with a modular online program. So this is really addressing a need in the world today, and for a market of learners that universities really cannot address, and universities were sort of cut out from that market, and there was a huge demand from the corporate side. And so this might form a really, the MicroMasters and professional certificate can form a really interesting bridge between university and the corporate world. There's also many new exciting kinds of products that can come out once you modularize education. Once you unbundle education, once you unbundle the credential into a master's degree and unbundle it into a MicroMasters, a piece of it, many, many exciting new approaches in education can be thought about. So here is one example. So in January, we partnered with Georgia Tech and launched an online master's degree in analytics. So this is a top 10 ranked program. And the beauty of this is that it starts off with a MicroMasters in data analytics from Georgia Tech. You can do that on edX, online. And as with everything on edX, you can learn for free. The graded assignments, the videos, the exams, there are exams and so on for the free learners as well. And you can earn a MicroMasters, and it's $1,500 for the MicroMasters. You apply to Georgia Tech, you get admission, you can now sign up and convert 25% of that credit towards a master's degree. And what's exciting is that the entire master's degree is online and also runs on edX. So there's about 12 courses. They all run online on edX. All courses are available as Moocs. In other words, there's a free option for learners that want to learn for free. And if you want credit, then you have to get admission into Georgia Tech, and we put you into a credit cohort. And you follow a pathway, you get extra support and help from advisors at Georgia Tech, and you follow the credit pathway. But a significant number of learners may simply want a MicroMasters. They can stop at the MicroMasters in this unbundled credential and leave after a MicroMasters. But those who want to continue for a full online degree can continue on. And I'd be remiss if I forgot to mention that you can get the whole master's degree for under $10,000. So you can learn for free, and you can earn a full master's degree for under $10,000. So we are thinking of newer and exciting new models of this sort that are enabled by digital technology. So in terms of how this relates to you and all of us, in order to offer programs like MicroMasters and unbundled full master's degrees and so on, the platform needs to become credit grade. It's not just about videos and multiple choice anymore, but we have to invest incredibly to make the whole platform just significantly able to deliver quality courses. And not just quality courses, but also courses with high integrity. How do you know that a learner did the work they're supposed to do? How do you know that one learner did not leak the questions to another learner when they're sitting out there in the public for everyone to see? There are a lot of challenges. And what I'm really excited is that the Open edX community and, of course, the team at edX have done just an incredible job building out the platform that is now enabling us to run complete degree programs on the edX platform. So as an example, you can now do timed exams on edX. So instead of the exam just sitting there, when the student opens the exam, boom, a timer starts, and the exam will shut down after a given amount of time. So you can give timed exams. You can control exam visibility. That says the instructor can decide, after the exam is done, should the exam be left available for the learner to look at, or should the exam close and the learner not be able to look at the exam? Should the exam be able to appear on a given date at a given time? Randomized problem banks. So one thing that we do customarily is that for the free track, there's no certificate there. So for the free track, you don't care if they're cheating, they're just hurting themselves. So you have one exam that's open all the time. So you create one exam that's available and open all the time. But for the credit track, you create a second exam with randomized problems. And that's the exam that you protect and you're very careful about. And so we built out a mechanism in the platform, not just to do randomized problem banks, but also to do cohorts, where you can, so that's on the right-hand side, where you can group learners according to their objectives. So the free learners, people who pay and are on the credit track could be in the credit cohort, and you can be giving them different exams, an open exam for the free learners, and a separate randomized problem exam that you really worry about, whose integrity you really worry about in the cohorted track. We've also worked to integrate virtual proctoring into the platform. We work with one organization called Cybersecurity, where the virtual proctoring enables learners to take the exam, and a webcam takes a video while they do the exam, and the video is then watched offline, so it's an asynchronous approach. And offline, it can be watched to see if the people cheated or not. And we've gotten amazing help from the Open edX community in doing a lot of the stuff. So for example, is the Raccoon Gang here? Where's Raccoon? Yeah. So the people in green. So the Raccoon Gang did a really cool thing. They built an API on Open edX that enables any proctoring solution to plug in. And they have submitted that as an OSPR into edX, into Open edX, and we have some feedback to them, and hopefully they will work on it. And once it becomes available on Open edX and also on edX more broadly, any proctoring solution can be plugged in a seamless manner. So right now on edX, we use Cybersecurity, and I know many of you use various other solutions. I know that many companies like Examity and quite a few companies are interested in doing things like this, and our hope is that once solutions like that become available, the Open edX community can help expand the choices that will be available for scalable proctoring, which is really critical for a credit-grade platform. So in addition to the Georgia Tech degree, others are also using the platform to offer full degree programs. So for instance, Notre Dame launched a full master's degree in data science, and Extension Engine is hosting Open edX for them for that degree program. Extension Engine here? There you go. So we are seeing more and more adoption in full degree programs, and the platform has now become credit grade, I would say, both because of integrity features on the platform, which are critical for these courses, but also the quality of the assessments. The number of types of rich assessments, it's not just multiple choice, that are needed to be able to create credit-worthy degree programs or MicroMasters programs. And again, we've gotten a lot of help from the Open edX community in creating many of the rich problem types. Another example of using the platform and content for credit, this is the tech is MIT's newspaper, and in the fall, MIT did a really fun experiment where 30 campus students took an edX course running on edX while they were on campus for credit at MIT. So MIT has given credit to 30 students who took a course 100% online on edX. This is not a blended course, mind you. It's not the blended model. It is 100% online. A report is out. So here's a link to the report. It's a public report. A researcher from the Teaching and Learning Lab, Ann McCarran, wrote the report completely independently, and you can look at the results. She compared the results in terms of student stress, flexibility, student satisfaction, and some pretty interesting results. This semester, the experiment is being repeated for the students in the circuits course, and this semester, the class was oversubscribed in the online version. And the difference is that this semester, students are doing the online class completely online on edX, and a group is doing the class on campus, and the campus professors are setting the exams, and everyone's taking the same exam. So the online professors, and again, online, they're learning completely online, So the online professors, Jerry Sussman's doing it. He's not doing the exams. The campus professors, Jeff Lang and others, have created the exams, and both the online and campus students are doing a common set of exams. And in the first 2 sets of exams, the results were pretty similar. So more and more data is coming out showing that even the purely online version is pretty darn good. And MIT has given credit for this 2 sets of courses. So finally, in doing so, in doing things like this, whether it's MicroMasters and so on, which enables universities to play in the whole continuous lifelong learning space. In doing so, edX is helping form a bridge between the university world and the continuous learning world, and we're really excited to be part of that movement, and all of you have been just fantastic in helping us do that. And then finally, while we're here, I'm really delighted to announce that edX has just launched a Spanish site, a Spanish language site, and we have a lot of learners from not just Spain, but all of Latin America, and we're really excited. Our team has launched a really exciting portal, and so I'm really looking for all of you to go to, if you have your language set to Spanish on your phones or your browsers, go to edX.org and it'll pop up in Spanish, or for others who have English set, go to edX.org/ES, and you can check out the Spanish language site. So with that, let me pause, and I'm happy to take some questions. Thank you. So go ahead with the questions. All of you get to ask questions. Only Pierre does not get to ask questions today. Pardon?
How does OpenEdX view cybersecurity attacks and all of that, the platform?
So then again, certainly on the edX.org platform, we spend a lot of attention to security. We have student data and so on, and so we have to worry a lot about maintaining and protecting the data. And I know that, and again, I can't give you all the details. I would pull in my team, of course. I keep hearing about all kinds of security audits and checks and so on that happen all the time. And even in the edX platform, there's constant fixing of bugs and loopholes and so on. So I know that the community, all of you and edX, think really hard about maintaining the sanctity of the data and creating a secure platform. We did talk about security, but accessibility is also very important to us. And I've actually heard from a couple of folks that, from a group called Vision Aid, that several blind learners graduated earning a certificate in Python programming on edX. And so the accessibility work has been fantastic on the platform as well. We have a question back there. This is a big, I'm not sure how long it will take.
Hello. It's me or? Yeah, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm Helge Høyvik from Oslo and Akershus University College in Norway. I would like to ask you, have you got some ideas about what the future holds for cooperation between edX and companies like Google and Microsoft?
So we are very interested in cooperating with leading companies. And while the MicroMasters was created with a pathway to credit, there's a lot of learning that can come from corporations and leading-edge corporations as well. So Microsoft, for example, is one of the most prolific course producers and content producers on edX. And I forget the count of courses, but I would not be surprised if the count is reaching nearly 100. They've reached 2 million learners on edX, and they have content focusing very heavily on IT and systems, extremely popular courses. So we're very excited to have them. Red Hat is a member of edX, creating courses in a variety of areas. Linux Foundation is a member creating courses in Linux. I think they have courses in cloud and other topics as well. So we are definitely very interested in a broad variety of content that people are interested in for their careers. Yes? Got it. So when you say schools, do you mean high schools or colleges? I'll ask the question. Yeah, I'll answer the question in a second. Okay. So there are two questions. The first question is, what is edX's stance vis-a-vis K through 12 schools? How do we work with that? My answer to that is pretty simple, which is that we have focused on higher education at the college level and the graduate level. So we have courses at the freshman level of college where you can take the courses and you get credit through ASU, through our partnership with them on Global Freshman Academy. So our focus has been at the higher ed level. That said, we do have about 75 courses at the high school level, particularly for AP courses. And the reason we did the high school level courses was to prepare the learners to be able to take the more advanced courses, the higher ed courses that happen on edX. So I'll make a plug for one course. So for example, our own Carlos has a great course in Java programming, which is AP Computer Science, which is a high school level, extremely popular computer science course. It's a course divided into 3 modules. And so we have many, many AP courses, very exciting. But again, it's not a big focus of ours. We do tend to focus at the higher ed. Then your second question, remind me what the second question? Non-STEM. The second part was, what about non-STEM? So there again, remember, when I talked about MicroMasters and professional certificates, these are career-focused courses. Now, that doesn't mean that they're only STEM. You can do career-focused courses in a variety of fields. So for example, we have a MicroMasters in social work from Michigan. And there's a variety of MicroMasters in what you might call non-STEM. The platform supports a large number of courses in the humanities, courses in history. There's many courses. There's a course on learning Spanish. I think it's from Valencia. Many language learning. Tsinghua has a course on learning Chinese, and we have several Chinese courses from a variety of partners. So the platform supports many of these features that we use peer grading to grade open-ended responses. We have a feature on the platform called Teams that enables small groups of people to do team projects. So there's quite a bit of support for the humanities as well. So we see a whole range of courses. Yes?
This is a question regarding how you ensure the quality of the courses provided on edX regarding pedagogy.
The question is, how do you ensure the quality of courses provided on edX.org in terms of pedagogy? So we do a number of things. Certainly for the edX brand, we are very careful about the kinds of courses that we would like to see offered on the platform. They have to be high quality and so on. So we do several things. So first of all, we have a very large open edX community where each of you control the brand and the quality of the courses on your platforms. On edX, we work with a small group of partners, and the partners care about quality and their own brands and the edX brand, and we rely on partners to create quality courses. edX creates best practice documents, and we have training sessions both at universities and at edX on a regular basis. I believe edX might be offering training at this venue as well. And so those are some approaches. We built, if you Google MOOC development checklist or edX MOOC development checklist, our team has also built a checklist. We don't call it a quality checklist, but it is a checklist, and if your courses don't meet the criteria of the checklist, we won't put it on edX. So the checklist talks about you need not just videos, you need videos and interleaved assessments. You need a discussion forum. Your course needs to have spell out the objectives, needs to spell out a syllabus. So many of the features that are considered quality are listed there. And so our partners have told us that simply even having such a checklist enables them to know what kinds of things they need to have in courses. So, and then, of course, we have 1,500 courses, so it's very hard for edX to go through all the courses. But our team also does spot checks. We also listen to student feedback. And when student feedback says that, hey, some course could use more pedagogical active learning, we will work with the course teams and provide the feedback. So we do a number of things to try to keep the quality at a level that we all can be proud of. Yes?
In your master program, the Georgia Tech, for example, do you check that the students have a bachelor degree when they enter the program?
Remember, I said it's open admission.
Totally
means,
open.
Open means open. So to do the MicroMasters, it is open. And my question for you is, why do you care whether someone has a high school diploma or a bachelor's degree? If they can cut it and learn the material, why should I care? Why do we have all these limits? Oh, you have to have a bachelor's degree before you apply for a master's. You have to have certain scores, and it's all about excluding. And so here, there's no checks for the MicroMasters. To get admission into the master's degree program, again, you can learn for free, but to get admission into Georgia Tech, they have their own admissions policies and so on. And I don't have insight into what they look for. But I would imagine that their admissions would be pretty typical for universities. Yes? The question is, in my estimation, what is the potential of the edX platform for K through 12 education? So as I said, we are offering high school level courses in a variety of topics. I think we have a course teaching French. We have AP courses, a lot of the introductory math and geometry and trig. I know that Delft has a course on pre-calculus, a number of courses at the high school level. And so there's nothing fundamentally different about high school, for example, than college in terms of the course material. The question is, what about K? What about kindergarten? What about first grade? I don't have much experience with seeing the platform used at that level, so I just don't know. I just don't know how suitable it might be. But I would imagine for many kinds of courses which involve content and learning of maybe not as much teamwork and so on, maybe it can be used for that as well. But certainly for a middle to high school, for most courses, I can see it being used. And the features on the platform like Teams can be very helpful at the high school level. The University of anybody from University of British Columbia here? There you go. They built a fantastic feature on edX called peer learning, where the peer learning is just fantastic for the case method. Now, Harvard Business School uses the case method in the business school, but that is a common technique used in high schools where the teacher tells the students, hey, look, go read up this and we'll come and discuss this in class. And so UBC built this thing called an X block called peer learning. It's available on edX, where you write an essay. You're maybe given a reading assignment. You write an essay. You submit it. It's peer graded. You see the results again. And then you see the comments from the other students. And then you can revise what you did. And you can go through iterations like that. So there are quite a few features that I think might be helpful at the K through 12 level. But I just don't know about the very early part. I just don't know. Certainly for the latter part, I can see it certainly very relevant. As one example, at Western High School in Massachusetts, they offer AP courses, but they have all the students go through what are called AP ramp-up courses. So for physics, AP physics is hard. But they offer a 2-week summer course on edX. It's available for free. You can go check it out. It's called AP Ramp-Up in Physics. It's taught by high school teachers to prepare students to take the more rigorous AP course. So there's a number of ramp-ups, 2-week ramp-ups. There's one in physics, there's one in biology, there's one for French, and there's one for calculus. And it's free. So it is used in high schools, but I'm just not sure about the very early levels. So maybe one or two more quick questions. Kelvin.
Can you give us a summary about the MOOC conference 2 days ago?
So the question is, can I give a quick thoughts on the conference from 2 days ago? So I think it's really, very broadly, it's really exciting for me to see the MOOC movement. I think the hype is gone today. all the thing about, MOOCs will eliminate universities and we professors won't have a job, and all of the hype is gone. But I think the real practitioners are now putting pedal to the metal, nose to the grindstone, and really, really going at it. And I call it the quiet revolution. So the noisy part happened and it's gone, but now it's a quiet revolution in education happening. And people like you, people at Open edX, people at Emoocs, people at Learning with MOOCs, these conferences are now really sitting down and doing the research and learning. And there's a quiet revolution happening in education, and I think we'll see some spectacular results in 5 to 10 years. Maybe one, how much more time do I have? Okay, maybe one or two more quick questions, yes.
Hi. What are your thoughts on the proliferation of platforms and courses and their long-term impact of learner satisfaction and belief, I would say? Because today when I go into edX, Coursera, Udemy, Udacity, all the regional players, there are so many of the same courses. So there's a redundancy, and I have no idea how to choose. The same cybersecurity course is everywhere, and I think after a while, people don't know how to choose.
No, these are good questions. So I think there is maybe an idea for entrepreneurs to come up with approaches to help students decide. So for instance, there are many differentiators. So today, how do you decide whether you want to go to let's say TUM in Germany, TUM, or you want to go to Aachen, or how do you decide where to go to university? Everybody has a calculus course, but how do you make a choice? So what do students do today? You look at what other people say, you look at the brand of the university. And on edX, I think products like the MicroMasters, which offer pathways to credit from very well-regarded universities, I think is pretty unique. I don't think there's anything similar out there, so it's very unique. So we have a Cybersecurity MicroMasters from Rochester Institute of Technology. And then a lot of learners want to also learn from corporate. So we have a fantastic data science program for Microsoft. And so I think oftentimes it's not just the content, but who's offering the content, who's giving the certificate, what are people saying about it? I think all of these things matter, and students will be able to make choices. But that said, I think there's opportunity here to create services. On edX, all the courses have students review courses, and they post reviews, so you can read reviews. When you go to buy a camera, you go and look at reviews and look at what people say. So again, there's no magic to the answer. Okay, last question. Let's go here. Yes, go ahead. No, just, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll do both of you. Go ahead.
Some examples? Can you give us some examples of what enterprises are doing with Open edX for their employees?
Sure. Can you give some examples of what enterprises are doing using Open edX for their employees? So there's quite a bit of work happening with enterprises. Many of you are hosting, Open edX community is hosting platforms for enterprises for their internal training. I know that Microsoft, for example, is using Open edX for a lot of Microsoft training. I heard that a company announced today that they will be doing all of the training using Open edX. The announcement probably came out or is coming out whenever. So there's also, edX also works with corporations. We have edX for Business, and we have a corporate advisory board with corporates like IBM and Accenture and Microsoft and Boeing and Shell and Hilton. So take Hilton, for example. They're interested in courses in hospitality management and supply chain. So really, a lot of corporates are interested in upskilling employees because it's better for them to upskill than to go and hire new people. So it's a pretty broad range. Let's have the last question from here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this brilliant, informative presentation. My name is Aynur. I'm from Kazakhstan. I know that edX tracks the number of countries that use Open edX platform. And my question is, do you have any kind of goal in expanding the territory of Open edX usage? So
thank you. So that's a fantastic question for Joel to answer. But it's spreading around the world. You're here from Kazakhstan. Many nations have adopted Open edX. Israel launched campus.il. We're talking to a team from Portugal, which is looking to launch a national Portuguese platform. Nurlan is here from Russia. They launched openedu.ru in Russia. Shuetang X in China. So there's a platform spreading all over the world. And our hope is that we'll be able to reach, I remember when we started edX 5 or 6 years ago, I said that my dream was to reach 1 billion people. And I think through Open edX, we are going to get there in some amount of time. So it will be everywhere, and it will happen through your help. And we'll hear more from Joel. Thank you.